Hi everyone, today we are going to learn the bean stitch. I use it in a few of my patterns and I get some questions on where to place the stitching, so I thought a tutorial would be perfect for this situation. The Flagstone blanket that I have uses a lot of bean stitch, the Allure Washcloth, and I do have a few others. I can link to those in the description below if you'd like to check them out and see what it looks like in a full project. For this tutorial, let's just start with a small number of chains. You can do any even number. So I'm going to start with 10, and that will give us a good visual of what it looks like, but it won't be too small. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm going to work the bean stitch into the third chain, and the reason I do that is because the first two will count as like a single crochet and a skipped chain, so I don't have to do another single crochet and make it bulky. So I'm going to insert my hook into the third chain from the hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And now I'm going to do that again, but this time I'm going to yarn over. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the same chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So now I have 4 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the same stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So now I have 2, 4, 6. I have 6 loops on my hook. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all 6, and that's the bean stitch. And now because we're skipping the next chain, we need to add that back in so we don't end up decreasing. So it's also a good way to close that bean stitch and give it a finishing look. So I add a chain 1 there, and most of the patterns that use the bean stitch will have that chain 1 after it. So we're going to skip the next chain, and then we're going to do that again. So let's work it again. Insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop, like the beginning of a single crochet. Then the next 2 parts to the bean stitch are almost like the beginning of double crochets. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop, and then do that one more time. Once you have all 6 loops on your hook, without twisting them, yarn over and pull through all 6, and then make sure you do that chain 1. Now, I have a couple patterns where, and I'm going to do this while I talk, I have a couple patterns that use the mini bean stitch, and what I did was I just left off one of the repeats. So I did a, I pulled up the first loop, I yarned over, I pulled up another loop, and I had 4, and then I just left it at 4 and I closed it. I do use that in a pattern, at least one pattern of mine. So if there's instructions in like special stitches section or anything like that, you're going to want to follow the instructions. Sometimes designers will just tweak it a little for what they want it to look like. Okay, we're going to do this one more time, and I'm going to add a stitch marker because I want to show you something. This is where I get questions, so a stitch marker is definitely going to help with the visual of this. Okay, so this is the last bean stitch of the row. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through. Now this stitch right here is the top of the bean stitch that we just completed. So I'm going to take a stitch marker and put it in here so that on the return row I can show you where I get the most questions on where to place this. Okay, so I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to do my chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into the last. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn. Now the question I seem to get the most of is people seem to think they're supposed to do the bean stitch in the chain space. So I want to show you, it looks like the space, right? So if we look at this from a visual perspective, I don't know if you can see that, maybe if I put it down on the white, the space is actually not the chain space, because see, remember I put the stitch marker in the actual stitch. So the actual stitch has a bigger space than the chain. The chain is very tight. It's right up against the top. So you're actually putting it into the space, even though it's not the space, if that makes sense. So from a written perspective, it's going to say bean stitch in the bean stitch. And I get a lot of questions with people thinking that it's supposed to be in the chain space. And maybe some patterns are written that way just so it's easier to understand where it goes. But from a technical perspective, it's actually going right into that bean stitch. So I did my single crochet. I'm going to bean stitch in the bean stitch. And then I'm going to chain one. And I'm going to do that all the way across. And I'm always going to put it right in the stitch. And it does like kind of lean toward the back of or the front on this side of it. But, you know, from the other side, it's the back of the stitch. It's not really on the top. So I think that's what throws people with the wording of it. So I just kind of wanted to do this video to clarify that. So chain one and then do that again. And you're going to do that all the way across. Chain one. And it looks like you're going to run out of, it's going to slant, but because it's a slanting stitch, it actually works out, and you can do that single crochet into the last one. And it doesn't end up slanting. It just looks like it's going to. Okay, and I can do one more row just so you can see how it evens itself out. So we're going to single crochet in that first single crochet, and then we're going to work that bean stitch all the way across. This curls. I probably should have maybe used a bigger hook, or it's not because of the stitch. The stitch did not curl when I did it in the washcloth or in the blanket, so it's got to be because I'm crocheting it tightly. If you tend to crochet tightly, you can always work half double crochets at the beginning and end of the rows. Like I said, when I did the Flagstone and even when I did the Allure Washcloth, I used single crochet and it was fine. So, you know, just know if you're a tight crocheter, you can always go up a hook size or extend those end stitches. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And it has the little texture. It has a lot of texture, actually. And I really like the way this looks. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, I will post the Flagstone blanket and the Allure washcloth in the description.